Thank you.
Republican Senator Kelly Ayotte of New Hampshire joins us now. She serves on the Senate Armed Services Committee and has been at the forefront of getting to the truth when it comes to what happened the night our Benghazi facilities were attacked. Senator Ayotte, I know you work closely with Senator John McCain on a number of issues. He calls the administration's response to the Benghazi events a cover-up. Do you see it that way?
I fully agree with Senator McCain about this. I mean, let's step back for a minute. Take the original talking points that the intelligence community put forth and compare them to what was brought forth that Susan Rice apparently claimed that she relied on. References to Al-Qaeda taken out, Ansar al-Sharia, which is a known terrorist group, and also the prior attacks on the consulate. So I think that clearly this was a cover-up, just from my own experience of having pushed with Senators Graham and McCain for answers. Right now, in light of the testimony we had last week, it is time we called from the beginning for a joint select committee that we do that, because just to put some of the questions that haven't been answered into perspective, we don't know who waived the facility security requirements. According to the House testimony last week, only Hillary Clinton could do that. What about the survivors? We have been pushing to have the survivors come forward with legal protection, and the administration has been stonewalling us. And we know from the testimony last week that those on the ground had very different information to offer than what we saw even in the Accountability Review Board report.
Congressman Issa, who chairs the House Oversight Committee, says that Accountability Review Board process or project, the output of the ARB, was insufficient. You agree?
I agree, just from the point of view that, first of all, yesterday I was surprised that they didn't interview Secretary Clinton in detail. I mean, she's the principal in the State Department. In addition, we saw that Eric Nordstrom mentioned that there were key decision makers that weren't interviewed. Mark Thompson said he wasn't interviewed, the top counterterrorism official at the State Department. But where was all the information in the Accountability Review Board that we heard directly from Gregory Hicks when he testified before the House? And how about the issue of the stand-down order? That is inconsistent, I believe, with what we heard before the Senate Armed Services Committee. Who issued that stand-down order for the special forces that wanted to go from Tripoli to Benghazi to help those who were in need and under attack?
Right. The president, speaking of consistency, says he has talked about terrorism from almost the get-go in regard to Benghazi. I want to play this clip for you now.
Since our founding, the United States has been a nation that respects all faiths. We reject all efforts to denigrate the religious beliefs of others. But there is absolutely no justification to this type of senseless violence. None. The world must stand together to unequivocally reject these brutal acts. Americans died in Benghazi. What we also know is clearly they were not in a position where they were adequately protected. The day after it happened, I acknowledged that this was an act of terrorism. And what I pledged to the American people was that we would find out what happened, we would make sure that it did not happen again, and we would make sure that we held accountable those who had perpetrated this terrible crime. And that's exactly what we've been trying to do.
That last from the news conference this morning with the president and David Cameron. The first was from his White House Rose Garden statement in the aftermath of the Benghazi attacks on September 13th of last year. It sure sounded like at that point he was referring to the whole video about Islam and the Prophet Muhammad.
Well, here's the problem. I heard what the president said this morning. And, to me, it sounds like spin, because we need a full and truthful accounting about what happened here. You need to look at what his prior statements were. You referenced the 60 Minutes statement, but also the statements he made on The View and Letterman. Why was he still connecting it, like Susan Rice did, to a video, to a demonstration, when we know even from those on the ground? Think about what Gregory Hicks said. He spoke to Ambassador Stevens and may have been the last person to speak to him. Ambassador Stevens said they are under attack. There was no reference to a demonstration. And when we heard before the Armed Services Committee the testimony of Secretary Panetta, Chairman Dempsey, they said they knew right away that this was an act of terrorism. So you have to step back and also remember this was in the context of an election,
right,
where they were claiming that al-Qaeda had been decimated, where they were claiming that, of course, the death of Osama bin Laden, which we were all happy and supported the president with, meant that al-Qaeda was on the run. Yet they took the references to al-Qaeda out of the talking points. Was that done because of the context of an election, for the convenience of making it a better political narrative for them? I think that's an important question to answer for the American people.
And there are many such questions left to answer. Senator Kelly Ayotte of New Hampshire, thank you.